going to ask you to trust me and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, relax, eyes still closed. Now, imagine yourself before birth, floating safely in your mother's womb. You hear the rhythm of her heartbeat. You hear her voice. You are nurtured, protected. You feel safe. As time passes, a shift happens. You get introduced to the outside world. Now see yourself lying in her arms, still feeling that same sense of safety. She holds you, feeds you, cares for you. She's loving on you. And then one day, she's gone. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. Come back into the room. What happens when trauma occurs before language? And how do we heal something we can't remember? Trauma may escape the memory, but the body holds the story. And it speaks in its own language. I was that baby. When I was 6 months old, my mother moved to New York, leaving me and my three older siblings with her sister in South Carolina, our aunt, whom also happened to be blind, though you wouldn't know that based on how she handled business. I was with family. I was taken care of. My mother worked for New York Telephone. She could make phone calls free. That was before cell phones. So her ability to stay in contact with us was never in question. And because she came to visit once or twice a year and supported us financially, in no way, shape, fashion, or form was it considered abandonment. Her absence was normalized. No one talked about it. And as a child, I didn't have the context or language to know how to talk about it. There's something called preverbal trauma. Preverbal trauma. Trauma that happens before we have language that gets stored in the body. And healing can only begin when we start to listen to what the body already knows. What has your body said to you? Perhaps you grew up feeling that something profound happened to you, but wasn't sure how to talk about it. Later, I would come to understand what I had experienced indeed was some form of abandonment. Childhood abandonment. The kind of trauma that can't be easily seen or explained, but is felt and leaves a lasting sense of internal woundedness. There's a lot of information out there on the psychological and emotional effects of abandonment. I would like to highlight a few that I've had to work to overcome. First, fear. Fear of rejection, fear of not being loved and valued. Next, unworthiness, low self-esteem, not feeling good enough, insecurity, self-doubt, and either clinging too tight or pushing people away. Last but not least, guilt and shame. Guilt is, I made a mistake. I did something wrong. Shame is, I am the mistake. I believe shame, unlike guilt, can kill you from the inside out if it's not dealt with. Brene Brown reminds us in her work on shame that shame can only survive in darkness. And the antidote is exposure, because darkness only exists in the absence of light. And there is no switch to turn on darkness, y'all. And it simply cannot exist in the light of our own divine worthiness. Hear me, somebody. Let's look at the science and biology. There's studies out there that tells us when the mother-baby bond is broken, it affects our autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the part of the body that automatically regulates heart rate, body temperature, digestion, and our stress and survival responses. Stephen Porges, in his Polyvagal Theory, explains how this system scans our environment and responds in three different states based on whether we feel safe or threatened. He proposes a three-part hierarchy. At the top is the ventral vagus state, your safety social state. You feel grounded, you feel safe relating and engaging with others. If a threat or danger is detected, the nervous system becomes dysregulated and moves into survival mode, dropping down to the sympathetic state, also known as fight flight. In this state, it mobilizes our bodies for action. So we either get mobilized to fight against the threat or run away from the threat, regardless if the threat is real or imaginary. If the situation persists and we don't see a way out, we drop down to dorsal vagus, the shutdown state. Our bodies become immobilized. We detach, freezes, and shut down. The goal of this system is not to avoid stressful situations, but to not get stuck in fight, flight, or shutdown. Our bodies are designed to naturally regulate and shift between these three different states to be able to move from survival to back up to safety. Now, our, our past experience with trauma can definitely affect how easily we shift between these states. This theory is based on your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in our bodies. You can think of it as your body's emotional highway that carries messages between the brain, the heart, and the gut. You know that gut feeling you get sometimes when you're in certain situations that something's not quite right or around a certain person? Well, that's specially delivered to you by your vagus nerve. There's another component to the polyvagal theory, and that's co-regulation. That's the way the nervous system finds balance and stability through connections with other nervous systems, the nervous systems of other people. Co-regulation starts in the womb. The mother's heartbeat and voice is the first sense of safety and connection the baby has. And after birth, they continue to seek that comfort and connection. It's the very thing that helps them self-regulate, learn self-regulation, and self-soothe. Therefore, when a baby is separated from their biological mother, the body records that loss, not in words, but in stress responses. That later in life sometimes shows up as anxiety, depression, and or the many faces of addiction, etc. The good news is with a healthy support system, the stress responses can be reprogrammed because what was learned in fear can be unlearned in love. I will share with you, as a result of my unhealed trauma, I started using drugs at a very early age, not knowing that was my way of trying to self-regulate, not knowing I would become addicted. I used for years, and for years, using was my solution until it wasn't. At age 26, I hit rock bottom, and by divine providence, I was led into recovery. It was during the process of um, looking at myself and doing my own internal work that I discovered My core issue was abandonment. That's when my journey, my healing journey, truly began. After staying clean for a few years, I became a certified substance abuse counselor, and I had the privilege of working with pregnant women in recovery and their babies, their newborn babies. And in that sacred space between birth and bonding, I would witness something extremely powerful. I saw the babies cry when their mothers left the room. I saw how they settled when she returned. I saw how they opened their eyes, how their bodies softened, how they knew without words, without logic, that their mother was in the room, and they knew when she was not. Their bodies remembered what their mind had not yet cognitively formed or developed. Then it hit me. So did mine. For the first time, the part of me that had been silent was seen. I saw myself in those infants, not cognitively, but emotionally, somatically, spiritually. I realized I once was one of them, and what I had felt was real, even if no one had ever acknowledged it. They validated me in a way that another adult never could. That being taken care of was not the same as being chosen by your mother as her priority. They reminded me that absence leaves a mark and presence heals, not through words and fixing. It creates safe space for true connection and to rewrite the story. I'm proud to say I rewrote the story. And I stand here with 37 years and 9 months clean. Yeah, y'all can clap for that. Y'all can clap for that. Yes. And however, the journey continues because healing doesn't necessarily mean cured. I'm not sure. I don't know. Many of you may have your own version of something like this. A wound that didn't get acknowledged because it didn't look like trauma. Is there a version of you that may be holding the story? What would it look like to trust your body with or without words? Today, I choose to trust my body. Today, I choose to honor that baby version of me and the babies I once worked with and held because they taught me that truth doesn't need to be spoken to be real. So even when trauma doesn't look like trauma and can't be remembered, the body remembers. And healing begins the moment we start listening to what the body never forgot. Thank you